Hi, I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap and welcome to the Photo Twistabout workshop. Now, those of you who went ahead and purchased the Craft Along kit in advance of our workshop, maybe you've already gone ahead and done the homework video that I shared. Basically, all we did was just trim and score the paper. And the reason why I have you do that is because the process helps you learn how to make these for yourself. There is just a real rhythm to it. And once you figure it out, the sky's the limit, right? So today's goal then is to take the boards that are included in the Craft Along kit, turn them into the box with the shelf, and then make the drawer and also create the 4 books that fit inside the Twistabout. If this is your first time making a project with me, I recommend just sit back, relax, and sort of watch the way all of it comes together. And then you'll have all the knowledge and the materials you need to go back and work at your own pace and make the book for yourself. And along the way today, you can just ask questions and see how it all unfolds. Let's go ahead and get started. During the homework phase, we took all of the papers included in the Craft Along kit. There were a total of 12 sheets plus the cut aparts. We trimmed them in very specific ways according to the instructions that we've also included. So this is what you're left with, and I saved it because in this little pile, there's still some decorative potential. So we have our instructions still here and our accordion pocket file with 4 pockets, and each pocket represents a phase of assembly. We also have an assortment of boards and hardware that are in the kit. So I'm going to set aside just the hardware and keep the boards handy. If you want, you could gently label these boards according to what they are. So if you look at the boards, there are 2 larger boards, and these are both going to be side walls. So the 2 largest boards, I'll just label side so I can keep them straight. And then we have a set of 2 that match that are slightly smaller. One is the top and one is the bottom. And then we have the next largest size, that's the shelf. And then we have the divider. So if you look at the finished box, you can see top, bottom, sides, shelf, divider. So let's start by taking the top wall. We'll put it vertically on our work surface. And now I need a ruler so that I can measure and mark a line representing the center of this piece. And that's going to be at 2 5/8 inches. If you want to double check, you can use the 0 center of the ruler to figure out what that would be. But yes, it's 2 5/8. That's the center. So I can go this way as well and find it. 2 5/8 and draw a line so that I know where the center of this piece is. Next, find one of the pieces labeled sidewall, and that's going to be one of the larger pieces. And if you look, if I were to put this on the side here, it's the same length. So I will begin by taking some glue out of my needle tip applicator, and one of these applicators was included right in your kit. You just needed to make sure you have some Club Scrap bookbinding glue handy. Now, if you want, you could just use a foam brush or use your fingertip to tap that glue along the flat wall to make sure it's spread nice and even. And then I'm going to set this on top of the wall and just check to make sure that the edges are aligned here and here. And then we want to form a 90-degree angle. You could paint the boards in any color you wish. You could paint them black, you could paint them white, earth tones, whatever. In no time, this wall will be able to stand on its own. And there it does. Okay, so I have a nice 90-degree angle here. Now I'm going to find the smallest piece that I have. That's our divider wall. That's going to live right here, okay? And I want it in the center, kind of on that line that I drew earlier. So to begin, now that I know which side gets the glue, I will apply a thin bead line, and then just go ahead and use my built-in glue tapper to attach this to that line. And that bookbinding glue does a great job once it's dry. And just kind of let it sit there until the wall stands on its own and doesn't lean in either direction. The shelf is going to sit on top of the divider wall, and it's also going to touch this side wall. I'm going to figure out which edges need glue this edge here so it sticks to the sidewall and the top of my divider. So I'm going to apply a glue here, and that should have me covered. Maybe I'll start with this guy. Run the glue carefully. Grab my tapper, built in, and then I'm going to place the glue on this edge as well. I tested the contact point and I know this is it. And then I'm going to carefully place this so it lands against the sidewall and the divider wall. Just check your edges to make sure they're level here. And you're hoping for contact at both of those 2 points, the side and then the top of the divider. Next, I'll take the other sidewall. I'm going to test the positioning. If I place it on the bottom edge here, it should fit. So maybe if I just rotate this, we can see a little better. Now the goal for the sidewall is that it sits on top of the base and it rests against the shelf. So if I put my glue here and here, I should be good. And now I'm going to set this against that edge. Nice. And then just give that a second for the glue to do its magic and make good contact. So if I just turn this on its side again, now you can see that this was the top wall where we started. We added the side, we added the divider, we added the shelf, and then we added the other side, leaving just the bottom left. So I'm going to turn it this way. And I think the best way to go here is to put the glue on these contact points. So that's all it is. It's just adding glue to contact points that you study in advance. Do your little tap technique. If you have a little paper towel or something handy, and then make sure this is oriented in the right direction. It should fit right on top of there. And you know, the advantage here with this glue, I have to say, it's not a one and done. Before it dries, you have a little bit of time to move things around just a little bit. And what you're looking at right now is the bottom of the unit. I'll just carefully turn it back. Now you can see that what we've built matches the cross section of my diagram here. Top, side, divider, shelf, bottom. And with that complete, all we're going to do is set this aside so that it just gets happily cured with the glue drying. In our instructions then, we are moving on from the Twistabout assembly to book assembly, and it says everything I need for this section of tasks is in pocket A. So that's the joy of kind of doing it this way. I'm going to start it with these folding boards. Now the folding board that we carry is sold by the sheet. This is the craft color, and you can purchase different colorways of this product, which is kind of cool. I'm going to place these covers horizontally on my work surface with the bumps of the score lines on top. So here is a bump. Look for that and lay it on your work surface horizontally. Next, we're going to take these panels that we've cut, and those are going to end up decorating the outside book cover. And then I'm going to assign some of this artwork then to these covers. This will be really pretty. I'll just put this one on the front for variance. Now this orange one is going to go on the inside of one of the books, so don't worry about this for right now. All we got to do is add these white panels to what will become the outside of the book. I'm going to go ahead and just, now that I have it planned out, I'll flip these over so I can quickly add my adhesive to these panels. And this time I'm just using my ATG. Just going to simply center this so that my stems are kind of near the spine. And this is going to end up being the front cover. So just be mindful that the right side will be the front cover of your book. I love this nature theme of our Meadow kit. It's going to be really pretty with, I would say, most neutral home decor. And I consider this collection like a photo eater. So anything you've done that's outside, great outdoors, is going to look beautiful with this collection here. Now we will always know what the outside of our book covers should be. Now I'm going to flip the cover, and it should be a series of narrow pieces. There are the scored pieces, but there should be some skinny, and if you can't readily find them, look inside your file folder. They may be left there. And I'm going to add these small orange pieces to the center of the inside of my book cover, right within the spine, and it should fit there perfectly. Now, the reason we're adding these is it's kind of going to provide a roadmap for when we assemble the hinges for our inner books. And now we have the hinges that we've prepared with our scoring. Now each hinge has 2 score lines. Look for the bump of the score line and then fold on it so that the bump ends up on the inside of our fold. So it makes this U shape. And that's what we're going to make, is like a U hinge album. And you have got a bunch of these. So go ahead and fold all of these hinge pages or hinges into their little U shape. I'm going to begin with a pair of ivory hinges, and glue needs to be applied to the inner scored area, but no glue on the sides, okay? So the hinge is kind of upside down here. It's an upside down U. There goes my glue application on the hinge. And then I'm kind of going to flatten the hinge a little bit so that it's almost flat and I can see this glued edge here. And I'm going to add that glued edge to the spine of my book, right along the right edge of that spine cover piece that we installed a second ago. So it's edge of paper on that fold line, going right onto the spine piece. I'll give that a little pressure, open the U-shaped hinge, and then just make sure that there's no excess glue causing any unintended. So now I want to show you what this looks like. Here's the outside cover of the book. There's the spine piece we installed, and there's the U-hinge attached to the right side of that strip. The glue does a wonderful job of creating a nice way for us to install our pages eventually into this book. Now I'll take another piece of the ivory, and I'm going to once again apply the glue only to that center scored area. And this time, notice how I'm flattening it again, so I can see that scored edge or that folded edge, and then way I can align it with the other side of that spine we put into our book. Give it a little pressure. Look at the other side and see there is a little bit of stray glue. Just kind of wipe that away. And I've installed the second hinge. No problem. And you can see how, because of the calculations I made with the spine piece, the layer there, and then how we installed it lined with the edges, it gives us 4 evenly spaced page attachers. Now guess what we get to do? We get to do that a whole bunch more times. So go ahead, and I probably am going to have to fast forward through some of this because of the time allotted in our workshop. But again, just make sure that you are aligning everything up nice and straight, and then checking the back side of your attachment for excess glue. One of your page sets will have to have a mix of colors, and that's no problem. No one's ever really going to notice that that's the case. Once you get the hang of this, the installation goes really quick. Front pocket A, we just still have this one straggling piece left, so I'm going to put some adhesive on it because it just so happens to fit perfectly on the inside of one of your books. Doesn't matter which one. We'll create more mats for the other books later on. That said, I think everything from pocket A has been utilized. Let's move on to pocket B, which is page installation. Okay, so let me take everything out of pocket B, and it's just a bunch of scored papers. We have several in each size. There's this one, I think it's like 4 by 11 and 10 and a half or something. These pages have been scored down the center, and you can go ahead and fold them in half. And once again, you'll want to make sure you look for the bump of the score line and put that on the inside of the fold. If I'm folding a big pile of papers that are all the same size, I like to just use my thumb to make the crease initially, and then I can stack them all up and burnish them all at the same time, thus saving a lot of time. Stack everything up and grab your bone folder and just go once on one side and flip once on the other, and you've got yourself a nice packet of beautifully scored and folded pages. Now we have a series of tri-fold pages. So the same thing applies here. You can fold by burying the bump and make your tri-folds. So the idea being that with the 4 books that you have, each book will have 2 tri-fold pages and 2 single fold out pages. And you can decide like what's the front, which flap should be on the top, and just arrange everything so the flaps are coming from the top edge. That's how we want them glued into the book. So now what we need to do is make 4 piles and sort what we want to be in each book as far as page, color variation, and so on. I'm going to start with my single fold pages and just maybe make some piles here. So this would be book 1, 2, 3, 4. Just distribute colors how you see fit. Maybe I'll go orange with this one and this one, and then I'll go ivory. This would be, then I'm gonna go back to my single fold pages and vary the color, what I have so far. And then there. So now I figured out which pages are going to be installed into which book. I'll just crisscross those, and we'll start out with this set. Now I like to glue my pages into the book from the back to the front. So I'm going to flip this pile over, and there's my first page. And here with all the hinges, you've got 4 flaps, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to isolate that 4th flap, and I think I'll add my glue to the flap just because then I know I'm not going past the edge of the flap. And then take my page, make sure I got the fold where I want it, whether you want it opening from one direction or whatever. I want my seam of my page that's folded, I want it there. And then I'm going to add it to my book hinge. And as I'm attaching this, I'm looking at this edge and this edge to make sure that the page isn't crooked. And I want to allow a small amount of space between the fold of the page and the edge of the hinge, maybe like, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch. Then what I like to do is just open up to the other side and make sure it's attached. There's no glue seeping out. And then I'm going to flip this page forward. And this is the next area where I need glue. Notice I just squiggle it on back and forth. I'll take my next page, and this is my trifold. Make sure I have it situated the way I want. Don't glue your trifold shut. That would be terrible. And then notice I'm just leaving a hair of space, so I don't want anything to get caught on the hinge. Then turn back, looking good here, and I'm also level with the previous page. Now I'm going to grab the second hinge. Remember, we had a total of 4. Add my glue, pick up my page and turn it over, double check the location of the fold, install. To me, it's just as a wonderful way to create a book that lays nice and flat. It's quick and easy, no sewing required. I know some of you are thrilled about that. And then take my last page, confirm, and drop. Check alignment with the previous pages. It even has a nice graduated look here. And the glue just does such a great job of drying quickly and being a secure installation. Now at this point, I can carefully fold on that score line and then go from the back as well, fold that score line carefully. And I have my first book complete. Okay, now I'll grab my next book. And since this is kind of a repeat, just make sure you go back to that last hinge, find the front side of it, add your glue and make sure you check how you want your page installed before you set her down. Check for level with the book itself, and make sure you allow a small amount of space between the fold line and your page. Go back, make sure nothing's oozing out there. Forward, fold the next hinge and install and go through. So in the interest of time, just like when you're watching a cooking show and they make the dish and then they pull it out of the oven and 45 minutes has not passed, but yet the dish is done. That's probably what we're gonna do here. I will finish lovingly installing all of these pages, and I hope it makes sense. Like the way this is working, I hope that you're grasping the simplicity and beauty. I do have another really cool full project just called the U-Hinge book, I believe. And I have a full video and some instructions on how to assemble that, and it's really fun to put it together. It's a little bit of a larger book, and again, it uses one complete Club Scrap page kit, and it makes the book, I think it holds 4x6 photos if I remember correctly. So ask about that and we can hook you up with the instructions and a workshop video, and then you choose what colors and what theme you want to work with. Book number 2 is done. And continue on. Okay, that is our 4 books. Not bad, right? Just the way that was completed quickly. We are going to decorate those spines, but not quite yet because we've emptied pocket B. And now we're moving on to pocket C to do another fun job, and that is to create the drawer and decorate the outside of the actual Twistabout unit. So at this point, I'm going to just take out this larger brown scored piece. Need some scissors here. And I'm going to flip this so that the bumps of the score lines are facing up. So let's hold this piece of paper so it's vertical. So this is the long edge, this is the short edge. And these are the vertical score lines. I'm going to find the second innermost score line here and put a dart into it. And I do have this quite thoroughly illustrated in your instructions, but once I reach the intersecting corner of the horizontal score line, the second score line, I stop. Now I will do the other side of the dart. It's basically a really narrow V, and I'm going to remove this piece. Bye. Now this line I'm going to cut to the left, toward the left side of it just, and stop. Again, when I reach that second horizontal score line. From the side, I'm going to come in and remove the corner and just a little bit more of it. So that's like almost a rectangle, but a little bit bigger on the left and the top edge. Now I have a tab here. Now, this is important. Move over to the left side of the same vertical piece and add the dart on the second score line from the left edge. Stop when you reach that horizontal line. And there's your little dart. This box technique, I've been using it for years, and so you can make a box of any size, length, width, and depth with this exact technique. So it's useful to know how to do this. Though there's my tab, I need to remove this corner. So I'm going to come in from the side and take that out along with the score line itself. And now I have tab 1 and tab 2. Here's what's important now. I want you to do a 180-degree turn, boom, so that the tabs are at the top. I've taught this in classes where people only turn to the side and then you get like these windmill tabs. We want it tabs at the top and tabs at the bottom. So we get to repeat all of that. So second score line in, go up to the intersecting score to remove the dart, then start another dart but remove the whole corner. Same thing on the opposite neighboring side. Dart goes away and that comes out from the side like so. And now you have what you need to make your tray. Basically, it's a tray that slides in and out of that bottom shelf of the unit that we made. We can dispose of these little scraps. Now I wanted my tray to be very, very firm, so I took some, what would have been scraps from the folding board, and I'm going to use it as a reinforcement for my side walls of my box to make it extra strong. So all I need to do is add a little glue to these folding board reinforcements, and I'm going to attach them within those scored lines of my piece. So between the first and second score line, there's going to be 2 long ones and 2 short walls. And I just like the strength that this gives the unit because we want it to be durable. We want it to be really sturdy. And the paper itself is 80-pound cover as well. It's a nice heavy stock, and it's going to be perfect for the project. Okay, now we have all these score lines and I want to fold on them. So I'm going to fold on, see how fast that glue dries? It's just fabulous. I'm going to fold on my short walls. There are 2 score lines. Make sure you do both. And then when you get to the tabs, you just need to fold on the second line. But on the other ones, you need to fold on both. Okay, so now I have all of my score lines have been creased. And again, I was burying the bump of those score lines and the indentations on this side. Then I'm going to take some of my bookbinding glue and just go on what I would call the long wall. So if my piece is vertical and these are my long reinforcement walls, I'm going to apply glue on those. And I'm going to fold the outside edges in on top of the glue and just give that a second to cure. Okay, so remember my tabs are still here, and I'm going to bring those tabs forward or up to make a 90-degree angle. And then when I bring those sidewalls in, you see I've got almost a box shape. So at this point, what will happen is our short wall will come up and around and down into the box. So all I need to do is apply adhesive to that short flap. Okay, so now tuck those in at 90 degrees, these tabs, bring that up and around. And you can make these little trays in almost like a matchbox size, really tiny. I have a really fun ornament project I made with these. This very technique, but just tinier. Then I got to turn it around and do the other side. Okay, bring it up and around. I'm getting glue occasionally on my hands, and you just wipe your, wipe it on the side of your pants. It's water soluble. It'll come out in the wash. Okay, if you want, you can use a bone folder to just make sure that that glue bonds with those uneven surfaces of the tabs. I love this. I love this beautiful tray. Let me just bring this back in and let's take a look at how things fit. Does this fit? Will it fit? It fits perfect. Yay. Okay, so I just want to mention that I'm going to save the gilding the lily or decorating the project until the end, but give you a tip right at this point. We have these darling little knobs, and if you just put some glue on the base of the knob, and you can add the knob to your drawer. You can do this now if you don't want to decorate the front of your drawer. But if you do, then wait until you've decorated the piece. But again, just put a thin rim of glue on here and attach it and let it sit and cure. And then just turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. If you want to use your center wall as sort of a guide, or otherwise use ruler, a 0 center ruler to make sure you're getting that knob in the center of the drawer. That's your prerogative, but very clever how that worked. It's a nice, sturdy, heavy-duty drawer, and we didn't have to make it out of wood or anything like that, or book board or anything. Now, we have a series of 3 brown and 3 prints here, and you'll notice that there's a smaller print and a smaller brown, and if my calculations worked, and they did, hopefully yours did too, we can now nest this. And I was going to say, try to make sure you get a nice adhesive in the middle of this paper, right in here, because that's where that handle is going to sit. I was going to try to remember that, and then I forgot to tell you. And even so, we're on the outside of the box, so you kind of want, again, it's going to be handled a lot. You want to make sure you have it well adhered. You could use bookbinding glue as well. These other panels are square, so no need to worry about which direction things are going yet. That smaller one is not square, however. Okay, and now where do these go? Well, again, this is the top, and this is the piece that will fit beautifully, and it does. As I mentioned before, with the boards, if you wanted to, you could paint them. That would happen before you assemble. You can ink the edges. We do have an earth ink that's really pretty. You can just sponge that onto the edges directly from the pad or with a sponge of some kind. That's totally up to you. I love the fact that this kit itself is in those crafty brown tones, and therefore the painting of the box is not necessary. So again, top, I want my side to look like this, and then I'll flip it around, add some adhesive to this guy. And again, you can use the bookbinding glue for this as well. Sometimes this can be a little bit faster. Okay, then I'm going to turn it to the bottom, and here we have our swivel. And this is a really nice piece of hardware, my friends. I'm so pleased with the quality of this made in the USA piece of hardware. I'm glad we could find them made stateside and have this be a part of our project. I think the swivel is what really makes this a cool thing. So I'm just, again, using our bookbinding glue. I think that the swivel is the same on each side, so it doesn't really matter which one goes down. I'll just go ahead and flip that back over, and we do have our knob. And again, that hardware to me just makes it. So if you wanted to, you can use a ruler and just line it up corner to corner and go near the center and just give it a little mark, and then do it in the other direction to X marks the spot, right? There's my center. And my knob will fit perfectly there. So to attach the knob, same story. You'll just want to put some glue. If you want to use your dabber, you can do that. And pop that right into the center of the unit. Isn't that satisfying? I'll put the drawer back down in here. We're so close. Pocket D, in my case, has all of the cut aparts. It has these 4 orange strips, which is what I'm looking for. And these are the decorative cut aparts. So there were 2 sheets of printed materials that we cut, and they're ready to help us decorate our book. But for now, I'm going to set that aside and focus on these panels of varying sizes and these 4 strips. Now, to decorate our spines of our book, I went ahead and found some paper that was left from the trimming process and selected a strip. And I'm going to cut that to fit and nest onto these orange pieces. And to do that, I need to cut it at a very odd measurement. The measurement is 5/8 by 3 7/8. So kind of the way I do that is I'm going to put this strip in. And right now it's 1 3/4. So I'm just going to count 5/8 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just line that up as best as I can. I'm looking at here, down here, and up here. And now I know this strip is 5/8 in width. And then I'm just going to go down to my 5/8 on my trimmer again. And you could also use a craft knife and a ruler if you wanted to. So then I need 3 7/8. So that's halfway between 3 3/4 and 4. 1, 3 7/8, 2, And one more, 3 7/8. If everything went right, these should fit nicely, and they do. And I'm going to use my bookbinding glue to attach these selected designs. And the reason I didn't have you trim this ahead of time was just because artistically you have the freedom to do whatever you want at this point. I just wanted to show you what I did to kind of give that spine, you know, of the book just a little zhuzh, zhuzh it up a little bit, right? The next thing you can do is open the book and add this to the spine. And then you'll repeat that for the remaining 3 books. Next, I'm using an old mini mouse pad as a way to protect my work surface, because I'm going to pierce through this spine, and I'm going to do it so that I'm open to the middle of the book. So I have 2 pages on one side, 2 pages on the other. There's no hinge right here, right? I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to use my 2x8, my smaller ruler, just so you can see a little better. And I'm going to pierce through my spine, through all the layers at 1 inch from the top edge. Does it have to be 1 inch? No, but I just want it to be consistent from book to book. So I'm going to put a pretty generous hole because those clasps that we have are pretty big. In fact, another little tip is if you happen to have a craft knife handy, I make a slit in that hole in each direction because it really expands it. Now these clasps are so cool. So I'm going to close the knobs, and then I should be able to bring that through that slot I made quite easily. Then flip over to this side and open the prongs. And yes, you'll have prongs on the insides of your book. Guess what you get to do now is repeat that. So open to the center of the next book. Get your ruler, find the center, 1 inch down from either the top edge or, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter what the measurement is. The only thing that matters is that you're consistent. And again, I find it very helpful to add that slot with a knife on either side so that when you put those prongs in, you can see how much easier this slides in, just no problem for me. There is a reason I know these tips, because I myself have struggled after not doing that, and I know that it works really well. You do have a few more papers left from Pocket D as well. Now, what I've done here is calculated these 2 prints that could have been scraps, but I knew their sizes were kind of conducive to a good fit here. So you can nest the 2 smallest ivory prints, or whatever kit you're using, onto the panels. Now there are more brown panels, that's great. So then you can take your book, and let's just see, there's 2 that have a print in the front. If you open to this page, you can see that it's a trifold with no art. And if you just install this nested panel into the inside first page in 2 of the books, it's kind of cool to have that done. And these other prints are designed to fit like on the plain pages. For example, if I just turn to this page, it could use a little sprucing up. So then you can just leaf through the books and add these prints wherever you want. So if you kind of go to another book here, this orange page could use a little life, and you can incorporate maybe 1 of each of these prints into each of your 4 books. That's everything basically from the pockets, with the exception of all the decorative cut-aparts. And I've got a great start on these books. We won't have time today to go over all of the embellishing possibilities, but in your kit, you're going to find a stencil. And if you happen to have some ink, You can add stenciling to any page that is left unadorned. It really adds a lot. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Your kit also includes a set of 12 pre-cut photo mats. But if you just trim them down to 4 by 5 1/4, they'll fit on the inside covers of your books. And then you can use more of them to layer onto to add color to the other pages. Just trim them to fit and then use your ruler to help you determine what those measurements should be. You have ribbon. You can use that for some fun things, along with these other really cool embellishments in your kit. These little gold hangers and the tassels. I even have manila tags. Now these tags are too big. That's okay, just trim them down to fit. And I will show you again in a moment how I incorporated all of these fun things into my finished unit. All I have to do is decorate the front of my box and add the handle. Okay, here's one that's done. And the difference here is that I took our earth colored ink pad and I just sponged some ink onto the edge to add a little bit of aging. Now again, cut aparts and these little scraps that were left, all these little strips. I had almost nothing left when I was done just embellishing the books. So the 12-inch strips that have art, I just trimmed them down. Here I did some fun ribbon. And some pages are left blank. We have to have spots for our photos, right? There's some stenciling that I did on the inside of that trifold. Here, put a little notch in that cut apart and added ribbon. That's one book. Here, I took one of the larger cut aparts, just trimmed it below the text to fit and added a tassel with glue. It's as simple as that. Here are some other fun things. I even used the leftover pieces of folding board to add things. Here's the other half of this cut apart upside down to embellish the front flap of this fold. Check out how I used those gold hangers included and added the ribbon. A half of a circle here and a half of a circle there. I mean, just even think of in terms of a mini scrapbook page with smaller photos and just other fun ribbon tricks. Quickly show you these others. It's a fun cover. Used a portion of one of the cut aparts. Again, the circles, plenty of ribbon to go around. And again, finished up with some stenciling there. Just a fun little trick with just a scrap and a journaling prompt. Here's the tag. I just trimmed the end and inked the edges. More stenciling. Of course, you want to be able to add photos. So I'm not worried about every page, but like if you think in terms of double page spreads, you know, that at least there's maybe an element on something. You can again see how cool the stenciling turned out there. And here, as I ran out of cut aparts, I was really able to have that stencil take it to the next level. Isn't it beautiful? And then also the box again, this I found a piece of orange scrap from my pile and nested it with more of that same artwork and added the little handle with book binding glue, and it really secures nicely. So in addition to our craft colored folding board, we have the black and we have a gray. And then we have all of the components required to make your own. And you know, my Karen, who works here at Club Scrap, created a beautiful version of the Twistabout using our Fun and Games collection. I love how this turned out. There were even some charms right in the Fun and Games kit that she was able to use a jump ring and attach them right to those tabs. We had some bottle caps, flattened bottle caps. I mean, just this is adorable, and I think it would be adorable on a game table, you know, or a centerpiece. It's fabulous. The spinner is even included right in the Fun and Games kit too. Using the gray, I incorporated more of a floral theme with this petals collection. And in this case, I was able to add some ribbon with the brads that were included in the kit right to each of those pull tabs. And the books themselves are really beautiful. And we have some of these silk petals included. And as you can see, it's the same exact structure of the previous projects, but just made with different papers following the exact same protocol. So once you nail this down, the possibilities are endless. Thank you so much for the privilege of your time today. I sincerely hope that you had a good time and that more importantly, you learned something new and that your head is spinning with some creative ideas. Check out our website at clubscrap.com to see what other kits we have available that you can match up with these colorways. It's going to be a lot of fun to make these for yourself. You'll be so proud to hand these off as a gift to someone you love during the holiday season. In the meantime, I hope you keep crafting and maybe consider a Club Scrap membership. We'd love to have you.